So today I'll be sharing a little bit about recovery. I wrote this years ago. It still applies, I think. I think it's always like a journey. So in terms of getting triggered, limiting the self, and being drained, this is what we would call the narrows, the straights. Recovering means it's instead of being okay with or like moving through like in a presence, it's okay to be sensitive, not scum or filth. I was taught it's so lowly to be affected. Like I felt guilt, versus shame. I felt regret versus despair. And then sometimes despair versus regret, feeling shame versus guilt. Like, honoring my inner child, though, not defying my feelings. When I get angry for being controlled, that's exactly where I can get my power. Like, that's what self-sufficiency is. It's possible. Even in anger, I can have sustainable, higher power if I'm protected from anything that harms sensitivity. It's where my gifts are. And if I continue to heal from what caused me to become oversensitive, for example, if I have a separate self, if I have boundaries, where the boundaries are. So gaining weight, food, to do with boundaries, to do with how separate I feel. I can't be part of a dysfunctional family system anymore. I decided that even though I was still trying to be having a family. And I started honoring my vulnerability and my fragility. Instead of being bitter, fault-finding, and negative, I didn't want to be a victim anymore. I wanted to start taking responsibility and feel blessed and see, okay, sure, I've been victimized, but where am I taking people for granted? Or can I stop replaying the past negatives and attempt to see positive or humor? I can't versus I haven't done it yet. So I share this yet with a lot of people I work with or I'm friends with. In other words, not yet. Changing my perspective means I can show up for my actual life when maybe I had carried sensitivities that weren't even mine. Someone not saying sorry by pride, and then becoming sensitive in certain areas, or becoming oversensitive, like, versus the actual life could be, this is what actually bothers me or what I actually like. When we get triggered, like, it's very important to not run away from it. So looking at where I was sensitive, like jealous, needy for affection, not pretending not to have my feelings when someone leaves in terms of presence or love. It hurt me not to feel chosen, to not be received. It was really like replaying a lot from my childhood, to not be asked to put on to not feel chosen, really, to not be received. That's from my childhood. My father, one of his tactics for feeling important and mattering is triangulating. I realized the phone calls that I get let me share the contents of my mind. I really didn't like to be asked to put on a show. So on the phone, I could sort of be more in the mind without feeling like overwhelmed in the body. But then I didn't get to feel that safety of like to belong, which is with the body. So there's also this transition element here. Change is hard for me, or was. And like in terms of being shy, also for me was being stubborn. Like I was hiding it when I needed to cry and I couldn't. When I needed affection and it was denied, or I didn't feel safe, or like I belonged, or I was boring, or my sisters and friends were always the fun ones, or I'm like the piece of shit loser, tag along, not seeing where God's blessing me when I have a man in my life who had to suffer so much. It turned him suspicious, controlling, reactive, like obviously projecting, also like thinking my suffering gives me an excuse to turn controlling, suspicious, or reactive. These are phases in the healing. In terms of soulmate complex, thinking a person is between me and my dream, it's another person, like, or that what I have now is all I ever deserved, or that I'm less lovable than everyone else, or that I'm better off alone because I'm so selfish, toxic, narcissistic, basically like what I felt my parents were projecting onto me. I was so afraid of hurting somebody that I wasn't caring that he was hurting me. I was so scared of him stopping to choose me that I didn't really make the choice of him for me, for my own self. And the common understanding built on an escape of reality, like a narrow escape. Remember I talked about the narrowness, the straights. Peace comes shortly after. Like it could be 6 months to face him rejecting and abandoning me, like I'm dependent and he isn't. And I'm the one haunted by someone who wants to hurt me sexually through the man. Like, so think about sensitivity, desensitizing, sensitizing. I feel someone's present with me already. Like I feel like that someone is me and I have to be one with her or some version. But most of the time, I feel like in terms of imagination, we're living in fragments, maybe even someone else's thoughts, because we're not really true or honest with ourselves. And we know we're here for like whatever it is. Like I thought the instinct I got with this man I'm talking about is called Maka, but it's not necessary to, that's his nickname. It could be anyone. At first was that it was, my instinct was that it was like a sin of the golden calf, like a test of faith. In Judaism, the sin of the golden calf was while Moses was up getting the luchos, the Torah from God, they were like, we need something physical now. We need to like have proof. And they sinned by worshiping a golden calf. So I felt like for me, he was like the trusting abundance from God that will be provided, not through this one man who didn't really feel like he was supposed to be for me. And then obviously taking this a step further into my Jewish heritage, that I felt like being here for the future, like for Messiah, for my child. I don't have a child yet, but I feel like that could be the presence with me. So I can't stay with someone who's living in or for the past. And in terms of self-limiting, believing I need to be medicated or escape or support, a support meaning like a crutch, literally like a crutches. For me, weed was a medication, but also it was a crutch or an escape. Needing someone, like instead of going through life and feeling and growing through the experiences, reacting versus the spacious container. Now we're going from the triggered like narrowness, not engaging in preventative care routines, which could be anything simple, like even washing the dishes and doing the floors, so that if somebody else comes in and finds where it's hard and then sort of helps in those areas, we don't become dependent. Just small examples, but for you, it could be anything. Or saying everything I think, giving it all away. Not feeling worthy of my own love and getting afraid of my own imagination. Needing someone other than me to see my pain or my glory, and not letting myself grieve or move on by idealizing the past instead of adapting to new. Or rambling on to avoid something blatant in a mindless autopilot interaction that I'm anxious about, or not taking breaks, letting things build up so far that it can explode. And overanalyzing the relationship I had with, he's still in my life now, so this must have been 3 years ago about that I met him. In like an OCD, like over obsessing or compulsive kind of escapism, like being I'm already gifted with something, enjoying it. And okay, so this is either 3 years ago or over 3 years ago, that I was sort of noticing about, like, I wasn't enjoying the gift of what was there. I was kind of obsessing or reactive, like compulsive. And not letting myself de-stress or decompress with reading or being with people who celebrated by me and not just tolerated by me, people who I didn't have to condition myself to enjoy socially, and noticing that I might have been engaging in, this is self-limiting, in exploitative, abusive, unsustainable power dynamics, whether it was work or romance, even turning my home into an unstable environment or feeling unsafe, whether it was money, food, housing, just really security, and judging my seriousness rather than saying there's something serious to be taken care of and I should look at it and deal with it. And then to be sensitive is to take things personally. So I'll finish with, how do I choose or want to show up and interpret? Responding in line with my values. So talking or silence. And these are like speculations again. Age, that I'm single, open-minded or closed-minded, money, innocence, sexiness, timelessness, godliness, studentliness, having a life or hobbies or pleasures, my appetite and food quality, misguessing, vulnerability, misguessing, and then the next one, vulnerability, not feeling or getting my side heard, competitive for rightness, like who's the right one, like only one is right, affection, judging, shyness, shouting, praising, dirty, say the other side of that is clean, silliness, joy or play, sensitivity, the main theme, rebelliousness, Judaism, weight, hairiness, and wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So I'll stop here. I wish you a beautiful day. Today, in my culture, my tradition of Chabad, it's a very special day where we have a real solid lesson that from the leader, right before the last leader, that through the last leader, that who married his daughter, the previous leader's daughter married this most recent leader's daughter, that there was a relative trying to sell books that he felt were his because it was his inheritance. But then they were saying, no, you can't. This is priceless. You can't put money on this. This is not for one personal family. This is for all of the community. This is for everyone. This is for all. And it really actually went to court. It was like a year long. And then they won, and they said we were victorious. And what the daughter said was, my father's books were not only for his adherents, we wouldn't even call them followers. We'd say his members, but actually he gave his entire life to them. So that settled that. And so may we all be victorious in whatever, judging or decrees or investigations that are in the background or at the forefront, and may what's priceless override any type of material possession that might seem like more important than what really matters. Be well. Bye.